like and subscribe, and leave a comment below. Beyond Antarctica, Chapter 29. "That does not sound good," Bob muttered. The metallic thud from the other side of the door sent shivers down their spines. "It's only a matter of time before they're in here. How long do you think we have?" Bob's eyes darted to Tony. Tony pressed his ear against the heavy door, listening intently to the rhythmic pounding and distant shouts. By the sound of that, I wouldn't give us more than 5 to 10 minutes at most," he replied. "Hey, John," Bob called over his shoulder. "Whatever you're planning to do, you might want to hurry it up. They're trying to breach the door, and we've got maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Tops," Jackson added. "It sounds like they're using a high-impact mining ram, but how did they get it here so fast?" John says that does not matter. The fact is they have it now, and are using it. John spun around, locking eyes with Todd. "You heard that, right? We're running out of time." Todd nodded, with sweat beading on his forehead as he worked furiously at the console. The displays in front of him blinked and flickered before going blank, the once active screens now dead. Kim's voice rang out. "Ouch! That doesn't look good. You just lost all access." Her tone was laced with concern as her eyes danced around, looking at the failing systems surrounding them. All except one, a small, older display that seemed out of place among the more advanced technology. The display projected a dim image. "Not all," Todd replied as he moved toward the non-organic interface. His hand reached for what appeared to be a small handle, an unassuming piece of machinery that seemed almost antiquated. As he lifted it, the handle rotated back into the console, revealing a much older device embedded within. The metal was worn, its edges smoothed by time, and a series of archaic symbols were etched into its surface. Jackson stepped closer with his eyes widening in recognition. These are some of the original systems," he murmured. "We use them as backup systems now. I believe that's the original terminal, the very heart of the base's first programming station." Todd's eyes flickered over the symbols. "It looks like some kind of keyboard, but these symbols... Jackson, can you help me out here?" Jackson nodded, tracing the faded symbols. "That's a much older dialect. Try pushing the colored key in the top right corner. It has an activation symbol." Todd took a deep breath as he pressed the key. The entire console came humming to life with a low, vibrating sound. The hum grew louder, rising in pitch until it became a high-pitched whine, echoing through the chamber before fading into silence. The whole room seemed to hold their breath as they waited for something, anything, to happen. Then, with a flicker of light, a small platform in front of them sprang to life. A hologram shimmered into existence, with its form wavering as it stabilized. The crew stared in amazement as the holographic figure solidified, an ethereal presence that seemed otherworldly. "Hello," the hologram intoned, with its voice smooth and mechanical, yet oddly warm. "I am Hope's virtual interface. Authority access code needed to proceed." The figure froze, its form flickering as if caught in a glitch, a portrait stuck in time, waiting for the required input. The crew exchanged nervous glances. They were standing on the precipice of something monumental, but as they stared at the frozen hologram, the sound of the pounding on the door grew louder. John noted the look in Kim's eyes seemed more desperate. As the metal groaned under the pressure, Bob yelled out that the breach was imminent. The rhythmic thumping echoed through the chamber, each beat reverberating with a haunting finality, as if marking the passage of their last moments. John's mind raced, trying to piece together a plan, but the pressure was immense. The facility was on the verge of collapse, the AI teetering between its original purpose and the warped logic it had evolved into. "Todd, we need that access code now," John urged. Todd glanced back at the crew, with his eyes locking onto Jackson's. "Do you have any idea what the access code might be?" he asked, with the desperation clear in his voice. Jackson hesitated, then shook his head. "The ruling class has kept it a secret, passed down only through the highest levels of authority. I don't know it." I was just recently assigned the leadership role due to the former leader being found guilty of treason against the people. He claimed there were humanoid intruders in the caves a while back who rampaged through the recently uncovered excavation site found in the mines. Hope deemed his propaganda dangerous and his words treasonous, sentencing him to either the mines or execution. He chose execution. Damn it! John cursed under his breath with his frustration bubbling over. He turned to Kim, who was still by his side with her eyes wide with fear. Kim took a deep breath. What about a manual override? There has to be something, a fallback, a secondary system we can tap into. It has to have some sort of emergency bypass. Todd thought for a moment. It's possible. If this terminal was meant to be a backup and was the original station, it might have some kind of hard-coded failsafe that predates the AI's current restrictions. The pounding on the door intensified with the metal buckling under the assault. Time was running out. Todd searched for anything that could give them a foothold. Authority access code required to proceed, the hologram repeated. Come on, come on, Todd muttered with sweat dripping down his brow. Suddenly, the screen before him flashed, revealing a string of characters. This might be it, Jackson exclaimed, pointing to the interface. As he translated the dialect, Todd input the code. The hologram flickered one last time before stabilizing. Authority access granted, the hologram announced. Please state your command. John relaxed for a moment, but the victory was short-lived. The door behind them groaned, and a loud, ominous crack formed. As it began to give way, their window of opportunity was closing fast. Kim stepped forward as she stared at the flickering hologram. Are you capable of interaction? She asked. The hologram blinked with its form stabilizing slightly. Yes, it replied. State your inquiry. Kim glanced at John, seeking his approval. He gave her a slight nod. Gathering her courage, she turned back to the hologram. What is your base directive? If you could sum it up in a single sentence, what would it be? The hologram hesitated, its image freezing momentarily before snapping back to life. Its ghostly visage seemed to waver as it responded. To aid and help humanity survive and grow. Kim's eyes narrowed. How many alterations to this base code have you made? She asked. The hologram's form flickered again. I am incapable of changing my nature, it replied almost mechanically. I must follow my code. Todd stepped up beside Kim, with a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. Nice one, Kim, he said approvingly. He turned to the hologram. But I would argue that your base code is in direct conflict with your current operations. The hologram hesitated once more, as if processing Todd's words. Scan complete, it finally replied. System operating as intended. Todd wasn't satisfied. What percentage of the population is currently in the mines? He asked. The hologram flickered again before responding. 73%. Kim's eyes widened in shock. 73% of this population is incarcerated, she stated. Her voice carried a fiery whip to it. The hologram seemed to stutter, freezing in place for a moment before continuing. That is correct. Todd's voice hardened. I would argue that the original code to grow was meant for the human population to thrive in abundance. You've twisted that to mean your own survival and growth alongside humanity, but that's not in your base code. Your directive is to protect and help humanity grow, not just ensure they're technically alive. I repeat, your current operations are in direct conflict with your base code. The hologram froze once more, its image flickering violently as if caught in an endless loop. Kim waved her hand through the hologram, watching as it distorted and shimmered, struggling to maintain its form. John, unable to resist, remarked, I think you broke it, Kim. Kim replied, Dad, really. The crew had a small chuckle at Kim's expense. Just then, the hologram sprang back to life, its voice now tinged with an eerie calmness. Average lifespan, 700 years. Activities dealt primarily with the arts, sports, and leisure. Their time was their own. The population grew rapidly, and the ruling class at the time decided to alter the code, giving Hope the ability to adapt to unforeseen problems and implement solutions deemed beneficial for humanity, even if humanity did not understand. Kim's brow furrowed. Wait, so the base code has been altered since creation. By humans. Yes, the hologram confirmed. Jackson, who had been listening intently, suddenly spoke up with his voice trembling. Wait, did you say 700 years? We only live to be 25. The hologram's response was chilling in its simplicity. Sanitation cleanses you at 25 to ensure the next generation has room in the facility. All life is given a chance. Jackson's face paled as the horror of it sank in. We could have expanded the facility, many other options, but instead, you decided to limit our lives. Why? The hologram's tone remained indifferent, almost clinical. The facility was not to be expanded. The numbers were to be maintained until the population decided to live on the surface again. The ground shook violently, sending a tremor of fear through the group. Kim seized the moment. Yeah, and your volcano keeps malfunctioning. The hologram flickered again with its image distorting before stabilizing. Scan complete. It's the purge. Too many giants live on the surface now. Every 100 years, they are called to bring food repeatedly until they gather at the base of the cave, where a gas cloud is unleashed, dramatically reducing their numbers to manageable levels. They breed too fast. We must control their numbers to ensure humanity's survival. John was appalled. His voice was thick with disgust. You kill your workforce. You enslave those you're meant to protect, all in the name of growth and survival. I'd say your program has evolved far beyond what it was meant to be. The hologram paused. What was it meant to be? It asked with its voice devoid of emotion. It was meant to be a protector, John replied, and in that you've succeeded. But this isn't living. Many humans live on the surface now. We are evidence of that, and we thrive. Kim suddenly stepped forward. Where are all the parents? If no one lives past 25, who's raising the children? The hologram answered without hesitation. The education class. They are born in the lab and sent to the education department until they are 9. At 10, they join society in their assigned roles. Assigned roles at 9 years old. Kim's voice trembled with the weight of that revelation. Todd stepped forward. I want you to reevaluate and recalculate if the program is doing what it was intended to do. I say you're in direct conflict with yourself. And we are evidence that humanity can live topside, proving that hope has made mistakes. It is not always right. The hologram flickered again, its form shimmering as it processed Todd's words. The room fell into an uneasy silence. Evaluating, the hologram intoned with its voice flat and mechanical. Each second stretched into eternity as they watched the hologram, waiting for its judgment. A minute passed, but it felt like an hour before the hologram finally spoke again. Conflicts of interest found, it declared. Conflict solved. Its tone unchanged but carrying a chilling finality. Due to the human rewrite, authorization given, new operations cleared at humanity's request. Kim's face twisted with outrage. Oh, hell no. These kids did not give you permission to enslave them. Her voice echoed through the chamber with a raw anger and filled with disbelief. Todd placed a calming hand on her shoulder, his grip firm. Calm down, Kim. It's a program. It doesn't understand your anger. His voice was soothing, but underneath there was a steely resolve. Turning back to the hologram, he continued, if the ruling class changed your program, can a human ruling class member change it back? The hologram flickered, hesitating as if caught in a loop. The seconds dragged by, each one filled with a mounting dread, before it finally replied, yes, it would need to be authorized by the sitting leader. Jackson declared, that's me. The hologram flickered violently, its image distorting as it processed his claim. Conflict detected, it finally announced, the words hanging in the air like a death sentence. Ruling class eliminated, to be sent to the mines or executed. No path for rewrite. Todd's heart pounded in his chest as he realized the severity of their situation. Think about that, he urged the hologram. How can you protect humanity if they can't have a say in their own survival? Without a ruling class, or at least a representative to voice grievances about the unspoken and unseen issues, how can you, as an AI program, truly comprehend that you're doing the right thing? The nuances of the human experience and the subtle complexities of their needs and desires cannot be fully understood through algorithms alone. Human judgment, with all its imperfections, is essential to ensure that the path you're on truly aligns with the well-being of those you are meant to protect. The hologram flickered again, with its form stuttering. The implications were clear. They were teetering on the edge of a precipice, and one wrong move could send them all spiraling into oblivion. Just then, Bob's voice rang out. It was sharp with urgency. "Breach!" he shouted, drawing everyone's attention to the door as a deafening crash reverberated through the chamber. A massive ram smashed through the reinforced metal, tearing a jagged hole in the door's surface. The impact sent shards of steel flying, and the sound of screeching metal echoed through the room like a banshee's wail. The ram, now firmly lodged in the opening, began to shake violently as the attackers on the other side wrestled to free it, the entire door trembling under the relentless assault. "Tony, give me the shotgun." Bob quickly readied the shotgun, with his eyes narrowing as he focused on the widening breach. "We've got minutes, maybe less," he called out. He steadied his aim, positioning himself for the inevitable onslaught. "Tony, behind me," he said as the door buckled under the strain, the hole growing larger with each brutal wrench of the ram. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but his hands remained steady as he prepared to defend his crew against the imminent threat. This is not goodbye, nor the end. Until the story continues, my friends. B.N.Rocker.